It's really awesome. I was very excited to get the grant. It just allows me to kind of set aside some writing time and get paid for it. And I also got reimbursed for some gas mileage because I was having to drive back and forth to a school a couple different times. So it's a mixed methods study, and one of the local elementary schools in town is kind of unique. They're fifth grade classes. They have 4 classes of fifth graders, and 2 of the classes have these bouncy bands on their desks. So this is like a rubber band that goes across the bottom of the desk, and it allows students to put their feet on the band, and they can just rest their feet on it. They can move their feet on there. They could do nothing with it if they want to. So it's kind of a unique opportunity where we had a perfect kind of experimental group that had the bands, because 2 of the classes had them and 2 of the classes did not, and that was like the control group. So it allowed kind of a perfect experiment to take place. We wanted to measure their steps just to see if they're getting more physical activity than the control group. And we also wanted to see if their attention would be influenced at all. So we thought maybe since the students who had the bands, their feet were moving maybe a little bit more, maybe they'd be more attentive. So we kind of gave them a test for that. And then we also interviewed the students and the teachers to see their opinions of the bands and having them in their classrooms. So for the steps, we found that the experimental group, they had significantly greater step counts than the control group. So that was a good thing to find. That shows that the students with the bands, they're getting a little bit more physical activity in than the students who don't have the bands. When it came to the attention piece, we gave them a test called the D2 test for attention, which involves students going line by line looking for certain letters that have certain patterns, and they mark the letters that have it and they skip the letters that don't. So we found that there was no difference between the experimental group and the control group when it came to those attention scores. So that could be, a positive or a negative thing. I think of it as a positive where, they have these bands on their desks, they're getting more physical activity, and it's not negatively hurting them when it comes to attention or things like that. It would have been great to see that maybe it would have helped with their attention, but it did not. We're in the process of starting to write this all up to get published. One thing I will add to is just that interview data also really showed that the students, they like having the bands on their desk. Some of them said it helps them to get their energy out. Some of them says they're just fidgety and it's good to have that there. Other students talked about how they just like to place their feet on it because it was comfortable. And overall, all of the students said that they would rather have desks with the bouncy bands than without the bouncy bands. And the only negatives that they really talked about was everyone kind of talked about if they had 2 desks lined up facing each other, the bands would be really close to each other, so their feet would kind of intermingle sometimes, and they did not like that at all. They also talked about how the bands could be noisy if someone's really going kind of crazy on the band, but they said that was pretty rare. And the teachers, they kind of basically said the same things as the students. They were all positive about having them in the classroom. They thought it made a difference. They also liked that it didn't draw attention to like one student because everyone had the bands. It wasn't like an intervention that you would give to just one student who has maybe ADHD. It was accessible to everyone, and they liked that in that way. So yeah, there were some good things that were found from the study, and yeah, definitely want to get it published and get it out there.